unveiled 10 new textbooks for the university system. Speaking at the public presentation of the books in Abuja, the Minister of Education, Adamu, said the dependence on foreign academic publications portends great danger to the nation's education sector. Represented by the Minister of State for Education, Goodluck Nanaopia, Adamu said boosting indigenous authorship would address the problem. In another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has reiterated the commitment of his administration to tackle terrorists and bandits. President Buhari gave the assurance at the Citizens Summit for National Integration, Peace and Security, convened by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations and partners in Abuja. The President, who was represented by the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, assured Nigerians that his administration would successfully tackle the outlaws like it put the farmer-herder crisis under control. In a related development, President Buhari says the training he received at the Indian Defence Services College, Wellington, in India in 1973 formed part of his success in the military. According to a statement signed by his Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, President Buhari stated this when he hosted the Indian Minister of State for External and Parliamentary Affairs, Veli Muralidharan, at State House, Abuja. The President, who went down memory lane on his one-year training in India as a military officer in 1973, said it was a very good experience. He emphasized the strong ties between the two countries, saying the Nigerian Defense Academy was established by Indians and that both nations had a firm relationship economically, politically, and in the area of security. Meanwhile, President Buhari has vowed to resist any attempt to undermine the development of sports in the country. Describing football as the #1 sport in Nigeria, the president said it remained a national asset. President Buhari made the pledge while receiving the 10-year Football Development Master Plan presented to him by the Minister of Youth and Sports Development Sunday Dare at the State House, Abuja. He directed the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development and the Nigeria Football Federation to commence implementation of the 2-volume report in phases within the relevant sections of the Nigerian laws on sports development and the statutes of the World Soccer governing body FIFA. The president further expressed concern over the stunted development of football in the past years, owing to neglect of the core orientation of football administration, and urged the NFF to salvage that the government has taken steps to strengthen extension services and guarantee food security in the country. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Mohammed Mahmood Abubakar, said this in a 2-day National Agricultural Extension Development Coordination Stakeholders Workshop in Lafia. Mahmood Abubakar said the meeting offered him the opportunity to clarify issues on the ongoing policy objectives of the government in the agricultural extension subsector. He said the Buhari-led administration had since revived the Nigerian National Agricultural Extension System to focus attention on small-scale farmers to accelerate agricultural productivity and production. The minister said the federal government, in collaboration with state governments and development partners in the last 7 years, had been supporting farmers. In the meantime, federal government says it is taking practical steps to address the problem of drug and substance abuse, particularly among vulnerable young people, using the instrumentality of its At-Risk Children program. The program is reportedly an initiative of President Muhammad Buhari's administration, facilitated by the Office of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo. Speaking at the opening of a 2-day stakeholders workshop to begin the implementation of the program in Niger State, the Special Advisor to the President on Social Investments, Mariam Weiss, who is also the national lead of the ARCP, decried the spate of substance abuse among young people across the country. Weiss said the central government, working with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and other relevant stakeholders, was making necessary interventions to discourage the distressing habit. She said with the support of the NDLEA, the program had created a national desk that is working with its state offices to sensitize young people on the dangers of substance abuse, while putting in place support structures to assist and rehabilitate those who were already addicted. Elsewhere, the Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, has urged investors to tap into the investment opportunities in Nigeria's electricity supply industry. This is contained in a statement by the ministry's Assistant Director, Information and Press, Odutayo Oluseyi, issued in Abuja. Aliyu was quoted to have said this at the 2-day Nigeria-India Business Forum. He said President Buhari had made the commitment at the Conference of Parties' 26th Annual Summit, COP26 in Glasgow, where Nigeria planned to achieve net zero carbon emission by 2060. The minister said structures were being put in place to increase the opportunity for investment in gas-to-power and other gas-related opportunities. Meanwhile, the federal government has reiterated that measures are being deployed to address the brain drain in Nigeria. Minister of State for Health, Joseph Ekumankama, stated this while addressing reporters at the Federal Medical Center, Ebutemeta, Lagos. Ekumankama was inaugurating the Orthopedic and Trauma Center, Molecular Building Complex, Oxygen Gas Plant, Clinical Training Center, and Ultramodern Theater. He admitted that the mass relocation of health personnel was a problem and worrisome. The minister appealed to the medics to remain in Nigeria to see the efforts of the government. Away from that, federal government says it is working out measures to resolve the $464 million belonging to foreign airlines that is trapped in the country. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, who embarked on the tour of the new Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, said relevant authorities of the government had escalated action on the issue, adding that the matter would soon be history. The declaration by Mohammed comes amid threats by some foreign carriers to either cut flight frequencies or suspend flights into the country. It could be recalled that last week the International Air Transport Association had slammed the federal government for holding over $464 million as proceeds of ticket sales by airlines operating into the country. To the legislature now, where the House of Representatives Committee on Finance within the week dismissed representatives of the Transmission Company of Nigeria (TCN) over their failure to answer critical questions concerning a take-or-pay agreement with the power generation company Azura Power West Africa Limited. The agreement forces the country to pay the firm $33 million monthly, whether it supplies power or not. At its continued investigative hearing in Abuja, the committee grilled the TCN Executive Director Victor Adewumi, TCN Market Operator Edmund Deje, TCN Director Agreements Benedict Ogbu, and TCN General Manager Corporate Planning and Strategy. The lawmaker, however, criticized the computation of figures in the written presentation by the TCN management, insisting that the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer Sule Abdulaziz appear before the panel to answer queries. Chairman of the committee, James Falake, alleged that the government, through the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC, had failed to reach a formal agreement with several power companies, but signed a take-or-pay agreement with only Azura. Several other lawmakers corroborated Ibrahim, asking that the TCN representatives be dismissed till a better presentation is made later. To the judiciary now, where the ratification of the suspension of Barrister Joyce Odua as Secretary General of the Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) has been nullified by a federal high court in Abuja. The ratification, effected by the National Executive Council (NEC) of the NBA, was voided and set aside by the court on grounds that the action was an affront to the rule of law and a violation of the court's proceedings in the matter. Justice Ahmed Mohammed, while ruling in an application filed and argued by Ayotunde Ogunleye on behalf of the plaintiff, held that the NBA's NEC, which gave legal effect to the suspension of the plaintiff, acted in bad faith and in utter disregard to the proceedings of the court. The judge agreed with Ogunleye that the ratification done on August 21 ought not to have been carried out by the NEC in view of the pendency of a suit challenging the suspension in the first instance. Justice Mohammed also agreed with the plaintiff's counsel that the purported ratification was not only an affront to the court, but a denigration of the sanctity of the judiciary, which on several occasions had been condemned by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Now, in education, National Association of Nigerian Students has commended the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, on the recent clampdown on erring police officers in the country. In a statement signed by the National President Sunday Ashefan, the association observed that students were the greatest victims of the erring officers. Ashefan called on the IGP and the force to continue to maintain stricter enforcement to prevent abuse of powers by the personnel. Still on judicial matters, the acting Chief Judge of Kogi State, Justice Josiah Majabi, has pledged to implement recommendations of the Kogi High Court's Council of Judges Subcommittee on repositioning and supervising the Directorate of Personnel Management of the court without delay. The committee recommended the termination of the employment of staff recruited into the system through a process it described as an abnormality. Members of the committee, who were received by the acting chief judge in his office at the High Court of Justice headquarters in Lokoja, stated in their report that names of some persons on the payroll of the High Court were not found on the court's nominal roll. In its interim report, the committee described the situation as an indication that some names on the payroll did not have duty stations or work anywhere in the inspectorate offices. While submitting its report, the committee, which has Justice Mohammed Umar as its chairman, recommended immediate and urgent action to correct the anomaly of having some staff in the payroll without duty stations. In another development, the National Pension Commission (PENCOM) has vowed to go tough on relatives, workers and retirees who fake deaths of contributors to the contributory pension scheme in order to get benefits entitled to deceased persons. To ensure that a worker is truly dead, apart from other means of verification, PENCOM has also asked the banks to close the accounts of reported dead persons so that they would not be able to operate bank accounts again in the country. The head Benefits and Insurance Department, PENCOM, Obiora Ibeziako, stated this while speaking on administration of retirement benefits and efforts to safeguard the pensions of workers. The pension industry's regulator decided on the move due to growing incidences of fake deaths being organized to get out the balances in the retirement savings accounts of reported dead workers. On security now, Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka has questioned the federal government's handling of the farmer herder crisis. Speaking to journalists, the literary icon wondered why the government was yet to ban cattle group Mieti Allah, while it had proscribed the indigenous people of Biafra for seeking succession of the southeast from Nigeria. He advised the Nigerian government to always put the country's history in perspective in order to understand security challenges. Still on security now, authorities of the police have again said its personnel have no right to check people's phones arbitrarily on the road. Force Public Relations Officer CSP Muyiwa Adejobi re-echoed the notice during a televised interview. Speaking on the activity which Nigerians have repeatedly accused policemen of doing, Adejobi said phone was a personal property and should not be checked by police. The Force PRO commented on the activities of the police recent disciplinary actions taken against some policemen for assaulting Nigerians, among other issues. Meanwhile, the Sokoto State Commissioner of Police Mohammed Gomel has again warned officers and men of the command against extortion and unprofessional conduct. While addressing senior police officers in a press conference in Sokoto, Gomel reiterated that the Inspector General of Police Usman Baba had vowed never to condone indiscipline in any form within the police force. He said discipline and professionalism remained the bedrock of the current IGP and the force management team. Now in Cross River State, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps NSCDC within the week impounded 16,000 liters of stolen petroleum products in the state. The state NSCDC Commandant Samuel Fadeyi said the stolen products, which are mainly automotive gas oil, also known as diesel, were stored in drums and gallons and hidden at trailer parks across the state. Speaking with journalists in Calabar while inspecting the seized petroleum products, Fadeyi said the search became necessary following an instruction from the Commandant General of NSCDC that some illegal activities were going on in parks. He further commanded the Nigerian Navy, Ship Victory and Sector 4, Operation Delta Safe, for joining the corps during the operation to impound and arrest smugglers of petroleum products from Nigeria to Cameroon. Still in Cross River, over 1,700 civil servants took to the streets within the week to protest the non-payment of 5 years' salaries. Reports say the protesters who converged at the state secretariat had blocked the entrance to the secretariat, displaying placards with various inscriptions. The protesters were cited chanting solidarity songs, appealing to the state government to pay their alleged 5 years' salaries. Meanwhile, addressing newsmen, the spokesman of the protesters, Raphael Antiga, alleged that since they were employed in 2017 and 2018, they had not been receiving salaries. Responding on behalf of the government, the head of service, Obang Akwaji, dismissed their claims, saying the state government was not owing any worker salary. Elsewhere, no fewer than 3,000 civilians are to be trained to augment security and tackle crimes in Katsina State. 500 personnel had already been trained by the mobile police unit of the Nigeria Police Force and deployed to frontline local government areas in the state. The frontline councils have a history of frequent terrorist attacks. Governor Aminu Masari's special advisor on security matters, Ahmad Katsina, confirmed the development to journalists. He said another batch of 600 personnel would be trained and deployed any time from now. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Police Command has arrested one Vincent Enuneku for impersonating an assistant superintendent of police and being in possession of a substance suspected to be Indian hemp. This was contained in a statement by the command's public relations officer Odiko Magdan in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. He said the suspect, who hailed from Ndokwa local government area of Delta State, was arrested by the operatives of the anti-cultism squad of the command on the 28th of June 2022. It was gathered that the suspect specialized in extorting money from the unsuspecting public and using his fake ID card to secure easy passage at checkpoints while transporting Indian hemp into the state. Magdan said that luck ran out on him while trying to use the fake ID card to prevent the arrest of a wanted criminal. Still to come in the news. Nigeria-India partner to expand trade investment. Please stay with us. And now in Africa, a Kenyan election official, Geoffrey Gitobu, who was in charge of a constituency in the just concluded elections within the week, collapsed and died. Gitobu was at the electoral body's offices in Nanyuki town in central Kenya when he collapsed and was pronounced dead at a hospital near the office. He was in charge of the election in Gichugu constituency, Kiriaga country in central Kenya. Reports say Gitobu had not complained of any illness and was in Nanyuki to visit his family before heading to the office. The official's death comes days after another officer in charge of a constituency in the capital Nairobi was tortured and murdered after disappearing from a tallying center. Recall that the Electoral Commission's chairperson Wafula Chebukati had earlier said officers were being intimidated and threatened over the 9th August general election. Meanwhile, the Democratic Republic of Congo within the week confirmed a new case of Ebola in its violence-wrecked east, the country's health ministry said just weeks after the end of a previous epidemic. Recall that the DRC early last month declared its latest Ebola outbreak over, more than 2 months after the virus re-emerged in the northwestern Equator province. Last week, however, the World Health Organization said the DR Congo was investigating a suspected case, and it added that tests showed the case is linked to a previous strain of the virus from 2018 and was not a new variant. Still in Africa, Uganda's police have charged 4 of its officers who stormed a wedding reception over the weekend and arrested the bride over a theft charge. According to the police spokesperson Fred Enanga, the 4 have been charged for discreditable conduct, which upon conviction could see them dismissed from the force. Meanwhile, following her arrest, the bride was driven to a police station in Mbarara in western Uganda, where she was detained overnight and was released. Police say the arrest was reprehensible and based on poor judgment. Meanwhile, Tanzania will conduct a population census, a vital exercise for national plans. Now, reports say Tanzania conducts a census every 10 years, and this year's is going to be the 6th since independence from Britain. Recall that in the 2012 census, results indicated there were 43.6 million people in Tanzania mainland and 1.3 million in Tanzania Zanzibar. Meanwhile, UN data estimates Tanzania's 2020 population to be almost 60 million. President Samia Hassan was among the first to be counted. On a foreign scene now, United Nations has voiced alarm at reports that Russia is preparing to try Ukrainian prisoners of war under conditions that could amount to war crimes. The UN Human Rights Office said it was concerned by images and footage appearing to show metal cages being built in the Philharmonic Hall in the shattered Ukrainian city of Mariupol, apparently to hold prisoners of war during proceedings. Spokeswoman Ravina Shamdasani told reporters in Geneva that if prisoners of war were charged with crimes, they are entitled to due process and fair trial guarantees. She said no sentence or punishment may be passed on them unless delivered by an impartial and regularly constituted court. On the foreign scene, Malaysia's former Prime Minister Najib Razak has been sent to jail to begin serving a 12-year sentence after the top court rejected his appeal. The 69-year-old's charges relate to a corruption scandal involving state-owned wealth fund One Malaysia Development Berhad. He was convicted in July 2020 but had been out on bail during the appeal. The court also denied Najib's request to delay his sentence, as he has continued to deny any wrongdoing. Meanwhile, Ukrainian officials have ridiculed Russia's accusation that its special services were behind the killing of Daria Dugina, the daughter of an ultra-nationalist, in a car bomb attack. National Security and Defense Council Secretary Alexei Danilov said Ukraine does not work in such ways. A memorial service for the 29-year-old Dugina took place in Moscow. The commentator on a Russian nationalist TV channel died when her car blew up on the outskirts of Moscow. Reports say her influential father, Alexander Dugin, may have been the intended target of the attack. His expansionist ideas of a new Russia on Ukrainian territory are said to have influenced President Vladimir Putin's annexation of Crimea in 2014. Elsewhere, former U.S. President Donald Trump in the week asked a judge to freeze the Justice Department's investigation of files seized from his Mar-a-Lago home. In a lawsuit, his legal team asked that an independent lawyer be appointed to oversee the documents that FBI agents took earlier this month. Recall that 11 sets of classified files were taken from Trump's Florida estate on August 8, with the former president investigated for potentially mishandling documents. In our business news, Nigeria and India have inaugurated the Nigeria-India Business Council (NIBC) to serve as a fulcrum for the expansion of trade and investment between the two countries in new areas such as fintech, artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and technology, among others. Vice President STVNg, who inaugurated the platform in Abuja, said that the NIBC will bring about a mutually beneficial economic exchange. Speaking at the event, the Vice President, who was represented by the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamilekan Adebite, called for more collaboration in the areas of entrepreneurship and vocational training, stressing that India has been able to use entrepreneurship to bring its unemployment level to around 7%, while that of Nigeria is quite high, at about 35%. Visiting India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Sri Muralidharan, in his remarks said Nigeria has always been a favorite investment destination for Indian businesses, adding that there are around 135 Indian companies in Nigeria that are estimated to have invested over $20 billion in the country. Still in our business news, the Executive Director and CEO Nigeria Export Promotion Council (NEPC), Ezra Yakusek, has said, in spite of the global economic recession that affected most businesses last year, the non-oil sector recorded a significant growth, as a total of 4,146,534 metric tons of product valued at $2.593 billion were exported between January and June this year. Yes, Kusek spoke during the presentation of the first half-year progress report on the non-oil sector in Abuja, stating that this represented a 62.37% increase as against the sum of 1.59 billion naira for the first half year in 2020 and 2021, which stood at 981.442 million dollars. According to him, these figures were culled from the non-oil export performance reports of various pre-shipment inspection agents who are appointed by the federal government to determine the volume, value, and destination of non-oil exports. Elsewhere, according to figures obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the federal government's fiscal deficit recorded a high rise from 491.28 billion naira in March to 643.09 billion naira in April. The banking regulator's economic report of April stated that the 14.3% increase in the federal government retained revenue was offset by the 23.8% rise in public spending, leading to an expansion of the fiscal deficit at 643.09 billion naira, with the provisional fiscal deficit standing at 30.9% above the level in the preceding month. According to the report, fiscal conditions remained challenging in April 2022, despite higher revenue outcomes, as the provisional federally collected revenue rose by 66.3% relative to the level in March, but fell short of the budget of 14.7%. Fraudsters say the federal government retained revenue increased by 14.3%, but was offset by a 23.8% rise in total expenditure, resulting in a 30.9% expansion in the overall deficit. Meanwhile, the debt profile has remained elevated as government incurred new borrowing to part finance the deficit in the 2022 budget. Meanwhile, different government security outfits operating across the country have recovered stolen oil worth 86.2 billion naira in August. Speaking with the media, River State NSCDC Commandant Samuel Fadegi said the stolen products, which were mainly automotive gas oil, also known as diesel, were recovered within the last 2 weeks. Also, the Nigeria Customs Service NCS Sema Area Command said it intercepted 3,998 jerry cans of premium motor spirit PMS. The products, according to the Customs Area Controller Bello Mohammed Jibo, were about 4 tanker loads of 33,000 liters each. Reports say the seized petroleum products had a duty-paid value of 28.9 million naira. Still to come in the news. The Tigers resume camp ahead of World Cup qualifiers for Window 4. Do stay with us. Hey, thanks for staying tuned. Still in health now, the federal government has introduced the rotavirus vaccine into routine immunization to protect against rotavirus infections among children in the country. The federal government said the vaccine will help prevent over 111,000 deaths among under 5 children in the next 10 years. Speaking during a program held in Abuja to flag off the inclusion of the vaccine into routine immunization, the Minister of Health, Dr. Sajay Hanire, said improving the health of children is a priority for the government. Rotavirus is the leading cause of severe dehydrating diarrhea in children less than 5 years old. Rotaviruses are a double-stranded RNA virus of the genus Rotavirinae, according to the World Health Organization. Still in health, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control has confirmed that 168 Nigerians have so far lost their lives to Lassa fever from January through August 14, 2022. The NCDC disclosed this in its weekly situation report on Lassa fever, stating that the number of new confirmed Lassa fever cases reduced from 13 in week 31, 2022 to 9 cases reported from Ondo, Edo, and Enugu states. According to data from the week 32 report that covered August 8 through August 14, 2022, the country has 889 confirmed cases and 6,003 suspected cases of the infection across 101 local government areas in 25 states. It also disclosed that no few healthcare worker was affected in the reporting week. Now in sports, the D Tigers, Nigeria's men's basketball team, will resume training on August 23 in Abidjan in anticipation of Window 4 of the FIBA World Cup qualifiers for 2023. This was revealed in a statement issued on Thursday by Afolabi on behalf of the Nigeria Basketball Federation and the BF Media Committee. The Tigers, who are fourth in the standings, will take on Cote d'Ivoire in their opening match. They will then play Guinea the following day before facing Angola on August 28. The 2023 World Cup is scheduled to take place in Japan, Indonesia, and the Philippines from August 25 through September 10, 2023. So in sports, the national under-21 men's volleyball team on Monday lost 0-3 to their Cameroonian counterparts in the third-place match of the ongoing 2022 African Under-21 Men's Volleyball Championship in Tunisia. Nigeria thus failed to finish among the top three countries in the championship. They lost 21-25, 20-25, 23-25 in the match played in Tunis. The Cameroonians caught Nigeria napping in the early minutes of the first set to lead by 7-2 points. Nigeria struggled to catch up with the Cameroonians, but the set ended 25-21. Three teams will represent Africa at the 2023 Federation of International Volleyball World Cup Championship, and these are Tunisia, Egypt, and Cameroon. The 2022 Under-21 Men's African Volleyball Championship, which began on 13th August, will end on Tuesday. Meanwhile, West Ham is set to sign left-back Emerson Palmieri from Chelsea in a deal worth £15 million. The 28-year-old Italy international spent last season on loan at Lyon and has struggled to become a regular at Stamford Bridge since his 2018 move from Roma. Emerson is set to complete a medical on Tuesday before the move across London is confirmed. The Euro 2020 winner will become West Ham's seventh signing of the summer. David Moyes' side are currently bottom of the Premier League with no points from 3 matches. The Hammers' biggest signings have been striker Gianluca Scamacca from Sassuolo for £30 million, defender Naya Aguero from Reims for £30 million, and forward Maxwell Cornet from Burnley for £17.5 million. They have also signed midfielder Flynn Downs from Swansea for £12 million and defender Thilo Kehrer and goalkeeper Afonso Areola, each for a reported £10 million from Paris Saint-Germain. And on our entertainment news, after releasing 121 singles in the last 12 years, Nicki Minaj has set a new chart record in the US. The star's latest song, Super Freaky Girl, has debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making her the first solo female rapper to achieve the feat in almost a quarter of a century. According to reports, the last time the feat was achieved was in 1998 when Lauryn Hill's Do Wop That Thing entered the chart at #1. According to Billboard, Super Freaky Girl was streamed 21 million times last week. It also topped the download chart with 89,000 sales, making the highest sales week for any song in 2022 so far. Still on entertainment, American rapper Fetty Wap is facing prison after pleading guilty to a drug charge in the US. He admitted to being part of a Long Island-based network that ferried more than 100 kilograms of drugs, including cocaine, between US states. The charge against the 31-year-old rapper, whose real name is Willie Jr. Maxwell II, carries a mandatory 5-year sentence. He is currently in jail for breaking his bail conditions after being accused of threatening to kill a man. The Trap Queen artist, who pleaded guilty to distributing and possessing cocaine, was first arrested at a stadium in New York in October 2021. Meanwhile, Australian singer John Farnham, best known for his 1986 hit You Are the Voice, is having surgery after being diagnosed with cancer. The 73-year-old's family revealed they had recently discovered that John had a cancerous growth. In a statement, he said he was grateful that they had the very best specialist healthcare professionals in Victoria. State Premier Daniel Andrews said Farnham was getting first-class care and that his thoughts and prayers were with the singer. Phantom is one of the country's most successful and beloved pop stars, having made his name with a string of hits as a teenager in the late 1960s. And that's all we have for you on the news this week. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching the news this week, a recap of major news stories and Spectrum News. I am Xavier Robert. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.